Haha. And this time the joke's on me. Oh yeah. I love it. So I close with somebody an hour after. But it just didn't go right because didn't calculate something correctly. Messed something up. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. Let me take a look. Oh, none of the chemicals moving through this, that, and the other. So that's why nothing is coming out clean. Well, so we live and we learn. Sports fans, we live and we learn. So something came up in a conversation today that at work that it hit me. I was like, yes, somebody asked kind of like what red pilled you. And then it totally hit me because I was thinking, I'm like, this is something that was kind of innocuous, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was that I was trying to keep in mind. And then I remembered when listening to Stefan Molyneux, and he would talk about various social problems, and he would say, no, the government shouldn't be solving this. People should. And I was like, how does he expect people to solve this? Why don't you think governments are solving problems for a reason? Then he brought up friendly societies. He said, you already solve these problems through friendly societies. You call them charity, but they were famously once called friendly societies. And it was because times got rough and people form community organizations. And those community organizations sometimes are hundreds of years old after a while, solving real social problems. And you know about these groups because they still exist. So I realized, like, he's talking about like the Red Cross, and he's talking about then, of course, stuff like the Odd Fellows and the Order of Freemasons and stuff like that. So then I started to research, like, very seriously, the Freemasons. Like, precisely are they about? What precisely do they do? How have they solved their own social problems? And one of the big ones was a video on Freemasonic widows and how Freemasons would pool their resources to take care of their widows, to the point that there's like whole housing developments and nursing homes that are only for Freemasonic widows. So they really were basically doing what the government later, of course, started to do. That's when I started to understand the difference between sort of the concept of the modern state and countries before then. Then I started to understand how sort of that you can't really be a student of history without knowing about the Freemasons and all of the stuff that millions of these men have done. And then there is no way of understanding the events leading up to World War II or a huge portion of why the Middle East is the way it is without knowing something about the history of Freemasonry. You just simply can't be a student of history or sociology, any of that. Like, you can't know what you're talking about the development of the world without knowing something about the history of the Freemasons. And in learning about that organization and how they just simply, they have their own interests, how they take care of their interests, how they look out for each other, and then all the many sort of iterations that Freemasonry has taken, all these kind of generational changes in it that kept this idea fresh for a new generation. Like, very few people would ever know, like, Oklahoma was run entirely by Native American senators and congresspeople who were members of the lodge. Very few people would ever think about this. And then to hear the early writings of Masons about their Native American Masonic brothers was a fascinating thing. And then to find out, like, oh, and this is their history with European Jews? Is their history with Muslims in the Middle East? And then, so finally, it really was this kind of thing where I was like, I had learned a whole new understanding of world history simply because I looked into the fundamentally the fraternity of fraternities, and so it was just one of those things where I had to really like think through when this dude and I were talking. Like, that's what really did it. It was really understanding the power of people organizing, and like the power of organization, and also the idea of you got to think big. You know, it's one, you got to think. Two, you got to think kind of big. So this is one of those things I just want to drop because it was one of the things that came out on YouTube that was very interesting was a thing called the World Exemplification of Freemasonry, WEOFM. It was a very interesting bunch of videos done by the Freemasons about their history, about different members. One of the ones I highly recommend is called Albert Pike and the 5 Civilized Tribes. That's one that will blow a lot of people away. It'll blow people away when they realize, like, wait a second. So, because then you start to get some understanding what really happened after the war. Because once you're like, wait, Albert Pike, you look him up and you're like, whoa, wait, Native Americans, Albert Pike, wait. Albert Pike was the lawyer for the Native Americans who lost their land to the American government. Wait, what? Then, wait, so how did Native Americans end up getting screwed so hard? Oh, because of the Democratic Party and their punishing of the Native Americans who sided with the Confederacy. And that it was punishment, mass group punishment by the Democrats. The Trail of Tears is a Democratic Party thing. Stealing the land from the Native Americans was specifically the Democratic Party. Like, that literally this was something that was done in violation of the Supreme Court. So, like, there's a lot I ended up learning about, and then all the stuff about the Turks and the weird German Turkish thing and the fascination with alchemy that so many people had, looking for the secrets of alchemy in the Quran, or in the Quran. They were looking for the secrets of alchemy in the Quran. They were sure that the secrets of alchemy were in the Quran somewhere, and that a lot of that also has quite a bit to do with a lot of that has quite a bit to do with then what you find with the Rosicrucians and their kind of odd sort of mythology about their own group, and this fascination that they had with the Islamic world. And that really, now that we really do know quite a bit more about the Islamic world, like Islam, was it the organization in Britain, the big Islamic organization that's and so you could literally look up the white sheik of Britain, and you'll find the Freemason who basically became a Muslim and opened up the first, I think he was the first imam, the first white imam in Western Europe. if I remember right. I can't believe I'm always forgetting that organization's name, because it's like so normal to Britain now. That I mean, like, everyone knows this name. It comes up all the time when discussions about Islam and Islamic immigration to Britain comes up. And it's because this organization has really tried to embrace something a lot more of along the lines of, like, really like the moderate Islam. But really what it is that, I mean, this was just to me, this was just a massive fuck up by a British guy in not really understanding how fucked up Islam is. But anyway, there we go. I just wanted to put that out there about what got me red pilled later.